Nigel Farage is a very brave man to stand there and say that to these people. Because, quite frankly, he's telling the truth. He's absolutely telling the truth. And, I believe that we in Britain should clear this Parliament as Cromwell did. I want to read to you what Cromwell actually said to the British Parliament when he decided to clear it. This is what he said. "It is high time for me to put an end to your sitting in this place, which you have dishonoured by your contempt of all virtue, and defiled by your practice of every vice. Ye are a factious crew, and enemies to all good government. You are a pack of mercenary wretches, and would, like Esau, sell your country for a mess of pottage, and, like Judas, betray your God for a few pieces of money. Is there a single virtue now remaining amongst you? Is there one vice you do not possess? You have no more religion than my horse. Gold is your God. Which of you have not bartered your conscience for bribes? You are grown intolerably odious to the whole nation. You are deputed here by the people to get grievances redressed. Are yourselves gone? So, take away that shining bauble there, and lock all the doors. In the name of God, go." Now, he had made a few good points there. I mean, our grievance was with the Parliament that they were frog marching us in to a European Union which is highly corrupt. And when I say corrupt, I mean, that we send 14 million a day. That's 14 billion a year. And 95% of that is missing. And that isn't according to me. That is according to the EU's own auditors. It is not me who's saying that. I'm just reporting it. I'm the messenger. And this has been going on for 14 years. Actually, the total missing amount now is 196 billion. Now, if you take all the contributions of all 27 member states, the total amount is in trillions. And 95% of it is missing. So those auditors were not just referring to the British Constitution, the British contribution. They were referring to the whole European contribution. And you know what? Not once have I heard Cameron or Clegg get up and ask what's happening to that money and why are we sending more money, why this 95% is missing. I heard them never ask about it. So they say, oh, well, it's because of the Europhiles, etc. Well, then the Europhiles won the argument years ago because they just shut up. And so we've been handed over, no matter what you say. But it's even worse than that. It's not a 14 billion or 18 billion because they've just given them another 4 billion. It's 118 billion, according to some fiscal studies, that is costing this nation more of. We can't afford these things. The country is bankrupt. I don't know which part of the word people don't understand of the word bankrupt, but we bankrupt. We've been running on a deficit for years. We've been closing down industries to comply with the European agreement, which secretly old Heath signed up. Why? Why did he sign up? To get in. He signed away a portion of our engineering industry. That's why we build no more ships any longer. That's why, we've hardly got any trucks. We don't make any trucks anymore. All the foreign manufacturers are here. We sold off Rover for nothing. And here we are, got GM just now resaving itself. The government saved GM. What is wrong with us? I mean, I lived in Africa. Every car was a Morris Oxford, or it was an Austin, or it was a Riley, a Path. It was a Wolseley Westminster. There were Vanguards. And then the decision came back in the 60s. I'll tell you, in South Africa, I was reading a newspaper. It's called the Sunday Tribune. And they said that Britain wouldn't have a car industry. Why? We were producing very good cars at that stage. It was a plan. It was part of getting into Europe. It's about time this plan for Europe was revealed to the people. That's what it should be. And what do we get for all this money we've given? 200,000 laws that you, me, or nobody are now responsible for, or responsible to, and we can be put in prison and we can do all sorts of things by a European police force. And there we are. Look at it. That is what was in the Mail this morning. And there we are, he talks about foreign policy, criminal justice, sovereignty, labour laws, transport, defence, immigration and asylum. You really need to get that paper and start reading it. I don't have time to read through that on here, and neither do you have time to listen to me. But you really need to read up and stop listening to the football and all these things that are so nice. We need to focus on this government. And I tell you, when the next election comes, you need to, before you even get to that election, you need to get hold of your MP and tell him, and that's everybody, get hold of your MP and tell him that he must demand a referendum, demand that we get these things, and if he doesn't, and he won't because he says it's impossible, then tell him you're voting for somebody else. And you need to tell him, and I say vote for anybody else, vote for anything but the Lib Lab Con. If they won't move, if they give a solid undertaking and a written undertaking to you, then you can vote for them. But for goodness sake, let's cut this lot down. They've had a go, and for 40 years they've misled the British people on what their intentions are. And now we're in the most corrupt operation on the world, where 95% of the budget is missing. Let's chop down that Lib Lab Con, stop voting because my father voted and all this sort of thing, and start voting for other parties. UKIP, if they've got a candidate in your area. Independents, if they are against Europe. And also even BNP. I'd hate to see them come to power, but I would like to see them have a voice in this whole lot, because at least they're pro-Britain. I really do. They maybe get better, but I just feel as though we've got to do something. We cannot rely on. I mean, here's a man like Cameron who's given cast iron guarantees that turned out to be nothing more than fluff. Cast iron. There was no cast iron in it. So what have we got? We've got a man he's broken his promise. Blair, twice at the dispatch box, was asked in Parliament whether we'd have a referendum on this, and the first time he said yes, simply. But the next man got up and said, within a minute, he said, I just want to get this straight, Mr. Blair. You said that we, in actual fact, would have a referendum. Even if all the nations of Europe turn it down, will we get a referendum? He said yes. And he said that with an eye on the future election that was going to come up shortly. During that election and prior to the election, when people brought up Europe, they kept on saying on Question Time, well, it's not for this time. There's a referendum coming. We can discuss that now. Let's get on the bread and butter issues. So everybody did that. And now today, what do we have? We have the lie brought to us. How can an organization that has been established on lies, deceits, treachery, be allowed to continue? I mean, it's like letting a thief come into your house. He takes away the goods. We know where he is. We go to get it, and the police say, no, he must keep the goods. He's a nice guy. That's exactly what we're doing. And that's exactly what the Conservatives are doing. They are allowing the thief to get away. And I'm really mean that word. It's to me, it's disgusting what has happened. And when Brown crawled into that place and signed that document really on his hands and knees and tried to hide behind everything and hoping the press weren't there, that was an indication of another surreptitious sign away of our rights. And there you got a whole lot of them, all right? A whole lot of them. And we can't even excuse Major from this. And the Liberals have been along with them. So the whole lot, the Lib Lab Con, have all had the same policy on Europe. The whole lot. Knowing all this corruption is there. Knowing there's 200,000 laws being passed that you and I don't know about, never seen, never been discussed in our own Parliament. They've just winked it through. We must get rid of this crowd. We've got to do exactly what Cromwell said. They must go. In the name of God, go. Because they've got no morals, any of them. And they've proven it by their theft of our monies. And this scandal which has rocked this nation and caused loss of faith in an institution that should not have been brought down to its knees like that. Great men like Churchill and various people who were in that Parliament would be turning in their graves. They knew the deceit and the lies and the theft that's been going on, and how they've handed us over, trust into Europe like this. For goodness sake, let us get rid of this crowd. Let's do exactly what Cromwell did. Clean it all out. And vote for anybody else but the Lib Lab Con. For goodness sake, do that. Then at least we might get our country back. Thank you very much for listening.